Had all the time in the world, and I still screwed it up. I it doesn't matter. I get sidetracked, and I'm thinking about something else, and then I lose track of the last few seconds there. Going to talk a little bit about common sense, and I already saw a comment or two that's popped up in this morning's chat already that'll tie right into my discussion. And I have a real good example, and I think you'll enjoy it. But first, I thought I'm going to do a Larry Sparks tune, even though I know I'm going to get the money's going to go somewhere else besides this channel. But I just thought I would do that. I would let you hear the guitar a little bit more. This is the auction guitar. And by the way, I didn't even bother to look at the price this morning. Last I looked, it was at $800. So I don't know what it is right now. But this is a nice guitar. It really is. Have you ever been to Richmond in November, when the cold Virginia rain is pouring down? My friends, I'm here to tell you there's no pleasure when you're all alone and a stranger to this town. Don't take me wrong, I do like East Virginia, and Richmond's full of hospitality, except for one Virginia girl I know of, who made a perfect love wreck out of me. Blue, blue, Virginia blue. There ain't no blue like blue, Virginia blue. No other girls in the whole wide world will break your heart like Virginia girl. There's no blue like blue, Virginia blue. Called me up in St. Paul, Minnesota. She said, I need you here in Richmond right away. So take the bus, I'll meet you at the station, and bring your clothes, 'cause I might want you to stay. Well, my bus pulled in the station late this evening. Oh, there's no one around this place but me, and she must have changed her mind if she's forgotten, and her name's not in the phone directory. Blue, blue, Virginia blue. There's no blue like blue, Virginia blue. No other girls in the whole wide world will break your heart like Virginia girl. There's no blue like blue, Virginia blue. I wish I had the money for a taxi and a warm and cozy place to go lie down, instead of standing all alone in Richmond while the cold Virginia rain is pouring down. Blue, blue, Virginia blue. There ain't no blue like blue, Virginia blue. And no other girls in the whole wide world will break your heart like Virginia girl. There's no blue like blue, Virginia blue. No, there ain't no blue like blue, Virginia blue. That song had a 1-4-5, which would be your G, C, D. It had a 2, which is your A, and it had a 3, which is your B. And whenever you go to a B or a 3, usually the next chord is a 4. It's a beautiful sound. Listen to that sound just one more time. Just listen to the sound of this. I'm going to sing it, but listen to the sound of the guitar on that blend. It's the coolest sound I think that there is just about in music. Have you ever been to Richmond in November, when the cold Virginia rain is pouring down? Isn't that a pretty sound? Just a pretty sound. It's just a beautifully written song Very nice song. And I don't know if I butchered it or what, but at least I got through it. I'm not used to playing guitar on that song, and it feels so different to do the guitar versus the mandolin when you're doing a song like that. And just again, just to recap, that was a 1-4-5 with a 2 and a 3. And whenever you go to a 2, you're almost always going to go to a 5 next. And whenever you go to a 3, you're almost always going to go to a 4 next. It's just the way music works. Now, when I say almost, that's like 90% of the time. There's always some knucklehead that other 10% of the time that writes something that doesn't fit that mold. But anyway, Blue Virginia Blues. Yeah, so check out that guitar on the auction. Trying to figure out, I've got my backlight on. I think that's part of my problem here. Trying to figure out why it didn't look the same as usual. I think the backlight was hurting it. And it's a little dark on this side for some reason, but anyway. Anyway, check out that auction. It's on my website, www.rosastringworks.com, and it's on the shopping page, and it's really at the bottom of the page. And get your bid in on that. It's for a really good cause. Again, I'll mention, and I still haven't bothered to look at the emails. There could be 10 dozen of them out there for all I know. But send me an email if you would like to contribute to the Six String Heroes fundraiser. Just send it to rosastringworks@gmail.com. And just say in your email that you would like to contribute X amount of dollars, whatever amount you want to contribute, $10, $20, $50, whatever it is. And I will send you an invoice back that will have the tax ID number on it also. And then that invoice you can pay with a credit card or pay up with PayPal. And we'll raise some money for these guys. And like I said, don't expect that invoice today even. It'll come in the next few days when I get time to get through all that stuff. And because I'm working on my taxes. If you could see the floor right here right now, I'd be real embarrassed because it's just full of paper. I worked on the taxes till like at 7 o'clock last night, and I didn't get very far. Quite honestly, mostly all I did was gather up the paperwork. That's mostly what I did. I did fill out a couple of forms, but that's about it. Whew, it was a big job. Anyway, today's discussion is non-intuitive design or common sense. It's the same thing. It really is. I noticed Dottie made a comment that she just got a new phone and she had to have her grandson set it up, and she said, well, if that don't make you feel like a dummy. Well, Dottie, you shouldn't feel like a dummy. It's the dummy that designed it. That's the dummy. Let me give you a perfect example. Doing these taxes yesterday, nowadays, used to you just get a 1099 in the mail and you're done. It's pretty simple. Well, now they've all decided they can save their stamp, which I don't blame them. I'd save it too. So I'm not really blaming them for that part, but they put it online. So you got to go online to their site and your account and find your paperwork and print it out. Okay, no problem. Google's was fairly straightforward, fairly simple, which is YouTube basically. So anyway, that one was fairly straightforward, fairly simple. I did that one in a heartbeat. PayPal's not quite the same thing. And Dottie, pay attention, because it's not your fault. Trust me. All right, so first of all, they give you 6 instructions. It's like you got to read 6 instructions to get your piece of paper. When the instructions could have been this simple. The instructions could have just said, go to your account site, your place on PayPal, go to your account and, click on the menu and get your paperwork. I mean, it could just be that simple. It really could be that simple. I mean, and it could even be simpler than that if you thought it out a little bit and used the right words and all that. But here's how they did it. They said, you click on this link, you go to this page, you hover over your email address, and you'll get a drop-down menu. You click on this particular menu, then you click on that, and it was like 6 steps to get there. Okay. All right, well, first of all, let's analyze that. And you think, well, they gave you directions, you can do it. Okay, sure. But why couldn't it have just been intuitive instead? Okay, you could say, click on this link. All right, the link takes you right to your account page. That's what it should do. Then on your account page, you could just have a very black and white menu that says, account settings or, your forms or anything like that. Yeah, it's just anything that makes sense. It could just be something that makes sense. But no, they didn't do that. They got your email address at the top of the screen. Now, who in their right mind, think about this for a second. If you're designing something, why would you put the user's email address at the top of the screen? They're never going to click on their own email address to email themselves something. I mean, they're not going to do it. And then beyond that, who would think to hover over the top of it with your cursor so that you would get a drop-down menu? Who would think to do that? Is that intuitive? So here's how that conversation went. The boss says, you designed something so that these people can download their forms off of our site. Okay, boss, no problem. And that's what he came up with. All they know is this. They don't know nothing but this. If you said, I would love to be in the meeting with those guys, and I'd say, look, son, this is how you designed it. Let me explain to you right now. You don't have enough sense to go pound sand in a rat hole. And you know what his next line would have been, or his expression? He'd have been going, pound sand in a rat hole? Why would I need to do that? He wouldn't have a clue. They don't know how to do anything. Anything. Zero, nothing. All they know is this right here. That's all they know. Their whole world is right there. It's pitiful. It's pitiful, pitiful, pitiful. It's just so dumb to make things so dumb. And just like Dottie, there's no reason that needs to be hard. Not any reason whatsoever. If you're smart enough to make it super complicated, then you're also smart enough to explain it in a very simple way. But they never do that. Not ever do they do that. And they could make it so intuitive, just so simple, that you click on it. I can't explain it any better than that. It's just pitiful. It's absolutely pitiful. Fortunately for me, when I was designing systems at Bell, I did have one ally. There was one programmer. His name was Rick. And for the life of me, I can't think of his last name. I think it started with an H. I think it's Harbison, maybe. That's not right. Rick Henderson. Rick Henderson, that's his name, I think. Anyway, he was on my side, and in fact, he was more at it. He was more avid about, or more into making things intuitive and making them, make sense than I was. In fact, I would write requirements, and he would correct my requirements and say, if you say it this way, it'll make more sense. And I go, you're right. And so I would change it, At least I had one guy that was on my side. So when I'd go into these meetings and start beating these programmers over the head, it's just so dumb to design stuff that doesn't make any sense. Instead of making it like an Easter egg where you have to hunt for it to figure out what you're looking for, just put it in plain English on the screen. Your forms. Your tax forms. That's all it has to do. That's all you have to do. So dumb. So dumb, you can't even put it in words how dumb it is. And these people are leading our country. And once we're gone, the common sense is out the window. There ain't none left at all. Zero, none, not any. Pitiful. Just plain, flat, pitiful. Okay. I'm off the high horse. John Pepper was number one. Eddie Turner, Rod Wentler, Bill Webb, Timothy Warblow, Dottie Hildebrand, Chuck Heidbreder, and anyway, people were still talking about when they get notified for these things. Yeah, it would be kind of interesting to know, but it'd be kind of tough to tell sometimes because you don't know if you clicked on it at the right moment or whatever either, too. It could have been sitting out there and you just hadn't refreshed your screen, that kind of thing. That makes a difference, too. Like, if you don't refresh your screen, you're not getting the most current thing. Like on an auction, if you're really, just like this auction, if you're really intent on buying this thing, Well, then when it gets down to those last seconds, you need to be refreshing your screen, like clicking that, that arrow that circles up there. You need to click that, and so that it refreshes your screen to see what the latest bid was, because it could have came in 3 seconds ago. So that's the kind of thing. So that's why it would be hard to know, really, even when you got notified about this video, unless your screen is completely refreshed all the time. Anyway, yeah, remember to hit the thumbs up, please. And let's move on down here. I think I see a comment. It says, Peter Lobick, did someone ever measure what 5 cents in compensation at the bridge means in millimeters or thousandths of an inch? Is 5 cents too high? A need of 1 millimeter more back? Well, let me try to put this in English for you. First of all, to answer your question, no, I don't really have a direct correlation between the cents and how far you move it. I don't have that correlation. Again, I just kind of did it by experience and feel, to be truthful. But let's make some definitions first. A few cents, up to 5 cents, honestly isn't very bad. I mean, it's not bad. Obviously, the closer you get to zero, the better it is. So, I mean, that's common sense. So the closer you get to zero, deviation from high or low pitch. So for those of you who aren't really into the music too much and don't understand it, I don't really know why they use cents. Somebody else will be able to define this better than me. But cents is just it's kind of like degrees on temperature. Cents is like degrees. So zero is where you want to be. You want to be perfect pitch, zero pitch on an A. And you can be negative or you can be positive, and you can be negative 2 or 3 cents, positive 2 or 3 cents, or negative 2 or 3 cents, or more. You can be really far off, So what we're talking about is trying to be right on zero. Well, up to about 5 cents, not that many people are going to hear it, quite honestly. I mean, your real good musicians can probably pick that up. So up to about 5 cents. That's not very bad. 5 to 10 cents, a lot of people are going to start to notice that. 15 cents, you're going to really notice it for the most part. And more, of course, obviously you're going to notice it even more. And where you really start to notice that, the more you deviate from perfect pitch, the more you deviate, the more it affects it, like when you put a capo on. You put a capo on and it sounds terrible because you're shortening the string even more, so it even... what's the right word? I don't want to say amplifies. That's not quite what I mean, but it is amplifies. It kind of amplifies the problem. It multiplies the problem, makes it even more noticeable. The shorter you make the string, the worse the pitch gets, like with a capo. So the closer you can get to zero, of course, the better it's going to be. Now, even when you're off by 5 cents, once you start to put the capo on and move it down the neck, you'll hear it more and more. Okay, so what does it mean to correlate it between the moving your saddle and this? Well, I'll be honest, I don't have a direct correlation, but 5 cents, I would say you probably need to move your saddle about 20 thousandths, a half a millimeter, something like that. I mean, I don't even know that you'd have to move it that far. It would be in that ballpark or maybe a little less. You wouldn't need to move it very far. 15 cents, I'm going to say you're going to probably move it about a millimeter. I mean, it's just approximate. It just gives you some idea, and you just kind of have to play with it. It's just trial and error, really. And honestly, I'm not even sure that you could say that any particular measurement would work all the time anyway. I think depending on the instrument, depending on how it's set up, the kind of saddle, the kind of strings, all these things, I think all that stuff has a little tiny effect on it. So, but just as a ballpark thing, you don't have to move it as far as you think. If it's 15 cents or less, you don't have to move it too terribly far. Once you get above that, well, then it's pretty bad, and you really do end up, you're really almost at the point, once it gets above 15 cents, and if, like say, all your strings are off by that, you probably need to move your bridge, or move your saddle, one of the two. In other words, fill your slot, cut a new slot. You could do it that way, too. I don't know if any of that made any sense at all, but that's kind of the answer I got for you. Like I said, I don't have a direct correlation to how far to move it. And for those of you who aren't musical people, maybe you kind of sort of understand the concept then. You're trying to get to the dead center, and you can be negative so many cents or positive so many cents, and cents are kind of like degrees. Moving to the next one. Bill Rhodes, good morning, everybody. Yes, good morning. And Dottie Hildebrandt still praying for us. Thank you, Dottie. Appreciate it very much. And we're praying for you. Carolyn Fike, Jerry, one of the real benefits of your vlogs is that it gets us focused on interesting things rather than troubles. And isn't that the truth? And I hope nobody takes this like I'm some kind of super pro gun advocate, because I'm not. I like guns. I think they're great, but I'm also a reasonable person, you know. But what I hate all the time, and I just saw it again this morning, is, you know, they said, here's yet another gun violence issue, and it's a gun violence problem. No, it's not. It's got nothing to do with the gun. It's got zero to do with the gun. Do you not get that, people? The gun's going to lay there on that, in that gun cabinet, or on that, in that drawer, or on that table. It'll lay there for 10,000 years and never cause a problem until some idiot causes the problem. That's where the problem is. It's the idiot behind the gun that's the problem. It's, again, the common sense of the whole issue of the world has been lost. We're not focusing on the problem. Now, they did catch this one knucklehead in the news, and they, you know, he had been putting out violent chats and things, you know, about what he was going to do, break into this, I don't remember even what it was, church or school or something, and he was going to break in there and he was going to stab people and kill people and all this stuff. And I'm thinking, there's your problem. You know, it's got nothing to do with the gun. You know, if you took away every gun in the world, do you think that would stop it? No, because the idiots would take a can of gas and throw it in with, you know, 100 people on fire. And, you know, that would be worse yet. It's just idiots out there. That's what we've got, is idiots, and we need to figure out a way to fix the idiots, not the guns, or, you know, or anything else. It's not the cars that run into a crowd of people. It's the idiot behind the wheel, and we need to start focusing on the problem and not the other stuff. Off the soapbox. That's why you watch, so I can rant. I don't know. Maybe some of you don't like the rants. I don't know. But anyway, you know, it's just, to me, it just boils down to thinking instead of the crap that people just spout out of their mouth, which is like the eye glue and all that stuff. They just spew this crud out of their mouth, and they don't have anything to back it up. It's just because that guy said it, and that guy said it, and that guy said it, and that guy said it, so I'm saying it too, and it don't make it right, you know. You need to just, so when you hear this kind of stuff, think about it in your own critical mind and go, is that really right, or is he just blowing smoke? And most of them are just blowing smoke. It's pitiful. It's just pitiful. This world is in such sad shape. And like, part of it, the social media is good, but part of it, that's what perpetuates it. And it just gets perpetuated out of proportion. Pitiful, pitiful, pitiful. David Tharps, there are 100 cents in a semitone. See, here's for the technical stuff that I don't have a clue about, folks. 100 cents in a semitone, and 5 cents worth of distance would depend on the overall scale length. Well, there you go. See, and that would make a difference too. Yeah, you're right. I didn't even think of that, David. But yeah, your scale length would have a huge bearing on how far you got to move it. Yeah, you're exactly right. So again, there's something that makes common sense. Your scale length obviously is going to have a bearing on how far you have to move it to fix whatever your problem is. And that's why, I guess, when you get right down to it, that's why I don't really have a way to say, here's how much you move it. There you go. But you probably still could come up with some kind of a system to give you some good idea how far to move it. I'm just not smart enough to come up with that system. But I imagine you could do it. Eddie Turner, how many other family or YouTube sites can you play Family Feud or Jeopardy while you're waiting for the main show? Let me rephrase that. How many of you are playing those things right now during the main show? I could sort of understand that too. Let's see. Moving on down here. I'm not even sure. Have I got to the live part yet? No, I haven't even got to the live part yet. There's a lot of comments. 145 viewers at the moment. I'm looking for question marks primarily, so I'm going to be scrolling a little faster here. Clyde Price, good morning, Jerry and viewers. Going to jam now. We'll have to watch later. Oh, yeah? Cool. Well, that's an early jam, unless you're somewhere else in the world. And you may be. I think you are. Anyway. Moving on down. Let's see. I don't see any more before we went live. So after we went live, Dottie says, have you ever met Larry Sparks? Met him at Jerusalem Ridge, Kentucky, I guess is what that's supposed to say there. I think I met him briefly, but he wouldn't remember the meeting. And, I think it was when I was a DJ. I would walk up with my little recorder, my voice recorder, and have the different stars and things say something like they were talking on my radio show. Like, hello, this is Larry Sparks, and you're listening to your favorite radio station, KTTR, whatever. Or you're listening to my favorite radio station, KTTR, that kind of thing. So I would do that, and I think I met him that way, just stick it in his face, basically. Yeah, Dee says that glare from the light was causing instant blindness. Well, I've got that fixed now, I think. I forgot about it, sorry. Let's see. Dottie says, well done, beautiful song. Yeah, that is a really cool song. I like that song. Bill Webb, B7, that I was playing, probably is a B7th, yeah, because I probably don't even know how to play the full B. I'm not a guitar player, but I was using B7 and A7, by the way, because I'm not a guitar player. Should have been a B and an A, probably, but B7 works. Phil says, yep, it was a B7. You're right, it was. Let's see. Bill Webb, that's a B7 chord, Jerry, but yeah, that sounds good. I used that chord progression in the key of C. Well, I don't know about that in the key of C. That don't quite make sense, but probably does. Sure, you can do anything in any key. but that particular, because of the numbers is what I was referring to. You're going anytime you're on a 3, almost always your next chord's going to be a 4. It's just the way it works in music. You can believe what you want, but that's the way it works. And anytime you're on a 2, your next chord is almost always going to be a 5. Doesn't always work. That's why I say almost always. So in other words, you're going to be guessing, 90-95% of the time, you'll be guessing correctly if you follow that rule. If you're on a 3, you're going to go to a 4. If you're on a 2, you're going to go to a 5. So when you don't know the song and you're at that 2, well, then you're going to go to a 5. And 95% of the time, you're going to be right. That's just the way music works. Not very many people are going to tell you those kinds of rules, because I didn't discover it until I understood the Nashville number system and started getting into it the way I play, and that's what made that make sense. Bill Webb, how do you really feel about it, Jerry? Well, if I told you how I really feel about it, this not only would some of the money be going somewhere else, but the whole thing would be demonetized and I'd be taken off the air. If I told you how I really feel about it. I'd like to get a hold of some of these knuckleheads, though, that spew out this crud, and it just shake them till they just don't know what's happening. And then maybe they could start to learn and understand something that makes sense to them instead of this crap that they spew. I am sick of the crap that gets spewed. Like I said, I'm not far left or far right or anything. I can hear both sides of any argument, and then we can make a decision. And that's the way we need for the world to move. It's everybody's far this way or far that way, and it doesn't have to be that way. It's because social media has done that, and and people just take such strong stances on everything. And the strong stance should be, let's move back toward the center and start using our brains and some common sense. That's what we need. Gary Cooper, did you die? Well, more than once on stage. I don't know what that means. Did you die? Cup of cool. Pound sand in a rat hole beats hell out of it. Sucks canal water. That's something I've never heard. Yeah, my dad used to say that. He don't have enough sense to pound sand in a rat hole. I always looked at him and go, why would you ever want to do that? They're just going to dig it out anyway. No, I mean, but seriously, I would love to just grab a hold of some idiot like that and go, look, this is how you design this. You don't have enough sense to pound sand in a rat hole. And I would just love to watch their expression. And they'd be going, anyway. Jess says the auction's up to $850. Well, good. Carolyn Fike. I refresh my screen every 2 seconds when I'm waiting for the notice. Well, good. See, you're one of the smart ones out there, Carolyn. I got notified at 9 a.m. and 2 commercials at Carolyn Fike in Ontario. Okay. Rod Wentler, thank you for the tax rant. I have been online working on my taxes for the last few days. I ran into one stupid bit of programming after another. Stupid is everywhere. And it is. I'm seriously telling you guys, I know some of you have just grown to accept it, and I can't do that. I just can't do it. It drives me nuts to see how stupid people make things. When it's no more difficult to make something simple than it is to make it complicated. I know that sounds like, well, that's really complicated. It has to be complicated. No, it doesn't. I don't care how complicated it is. You can make it straightforward and intuitive. You can make the space shuttle straightforward and intuitive if you want to. I'm not saying they do, but you can. You can make anything straightforward and intuitive if you want to, if you put the effort into it. And see, the way my argument with my programmers always was, look, I realize it's going to take you an extra 5,000 lines of code. I get that. I completely get it. But do you know we got 100,000 users out there that are going to be using this every single day, and they're going to have to do these extra 10 steps every single day times 100,000 people every day of their life. You get to do 5,000 codes one time, 5,000 lines of code one time, and it's over with. So sorry, you lost. That's how I explained it to them. And I didn't let them back off. I didn't give them any slack. None at all. Anyway, that's just, it drives me crazy. It really does. Jelva Skidmark Band. I'm trying to calm down some high-end trouble. I thought he meant physically. He's trying to calm down. See, I'm a slow reader, so I have to read one word at a time. I'm trying to calm down high-end trouble from an acoustic guitar. Have you tried a rosewood or ebony bridge and saddle? If so, what is your thought? Okay. How would I do that if I was going to do that? I'll tell you how I'd do it. It'd be simpler than what you're trying to do there. The first thing I would do is I'd get yourself some silken string, is that the right word? Silken steel strings, or silken something strings. I would, what it is the inner core is wrapped with silk, and then the banding around it is wrapped, with whatever it is. It can be silver or bronze or brass or whatever. I would try silk strings, your wrapped strings. That'll tone it down a lot. How unfortunately the treble part of it is going to still just be plain steel. So that might not completely tone it down, but it does work on a mandolin. It works a lot on a mandolin. When you have a real high pitchy mandolin sound, putting silken steel strings, I can't say that, on a mandolin really tones them down a lot. So that would be one thing to try. Won't cost you much to try it. Yeah, I'll tell you, putting an ebony bridge, I've done it and it works. I have done ebony bridges, but I'm not a huge fan of it. I mean, it will tone it down probably. So, I mean, you could try it. I'd probably use ebony over rosewood. Rosewood's a little bit too porous for a saddle. What else could you maybe do? I don't know. That's probably about it. You're on the right track. You're thinking the right way, but I don't know. You just have to do what you have to do, I guess. But seems like there might be another way to fix that. Probably not thinking. That'll be running around in the back of my mind here. I might come back to that. Bruce Hines, Jerry, it's idiots trying to fix idiots, blind leading the blind. Boy, you got that exactly right. It's pitiful, and it just keeps perpetuating. That's the problem. We never focus on the real issue. We focus on crap that other people are spewing out, and that's where we've missed our focus. DE, so true, Jerry, about the idiots behind the gun. Where I live, they are trying to ban the sale of knives in the convenience stores instead of addressing the idiots. Yeah, and have you been noticing the latest trend? It's to walk up and punch women in the face and to knock old ladies down. Knock them down. The one this morning, or one I saw on the news, this guy, I think it was in New York. I'm not positive. But anyway, this idiot comes up, and this lady was walking up the church steps. He comes up and pushes her down the concrete steps. She's an old lady. I mean, she's probably at least as old as me, if not a lot older, and knocked her all the way down. I mean, you don't even want to know what I'd do to that guy. You don't even want to know. Seriously telling you, I'd take care of him. And he'd never do that again, ever, I promise you. Tyler Van Nash. So after 40 years of playing guitar, the last few years I've started working on them. Now tell me, is there a day comes that you don't need a new tool? You always need one more thing. Well, you have to start being good at making them. A lot of times that's one of the things that you start doing that a lot. I mean, I made a lot of stuff, and that helps, at least, that you don't have to go buy the high-priced stuff. A lot of times you can think of a way to do the same thing, skin the cat a different way, and it works just as well. Russell Allen, Jerry, the problem with most programmers is that they grew up playing computer games. That's what I'm talking about. They're up here doing this. They're just, that's all they know. They're playing on their phone, and they're just like this. That's all they know. That's it. Yeah, and they find hidden treasures by hovering their cursor over. Yeah, exactly. See, that's exactly what I'm saying. They don't know. They haven't been able to, instead of doing this, they haven't been able to do this. They don't know what's out there in the real world. All they know is this right here. That's all they know. In their whole life, that's all they know. They don't even go outside. They just sit there and do this. How do I know these things? Unfortunately, I got grandkids that are a little bit like that. And it's pitiful. It's just sad. It's so sad it's not even funny. Pitiful. Dottie says, you just can't fix stupid. Yeah, pretty well right. But boy, I could shake the living tar out of it if you give me half a chance. You just don't know. I got no patience for stuff that's just plain stupid. I mean, I got no patience for it. Just none. I have none. I can't tolerate it. My old man, a cup of cool, says, my old man used to say they sent them to school, but they ate the books. I think it's supposed to be, but they ate the books. Yeah, it's kind of like that. I used to say that. I send you to school and all you did was eat the covers off the books, or beat the covers off the books. Argentine strings, swing guitarists use them. Argentine strings, okay. Well, we're down at the end here, and 167 viewers. We've been at it for 40 minutes. I'll give you about a second or two if anybody wants to ask another question, but I think we're at the end. My plans for today are to work on my taxes, unfortunately, and believe it or not, I got to get a check out to Cecilia, who was the owner of those other 3 instruments that we auctioned off. You know, in between the auction and the finish of the auction, my phone got busted. Well, I lost my contact information to Cecilia because it's in that phone. So I thought, well, it'll, a lot of this stuff transfers over. So I went looking on here. There was nothing on here for Cecilia. And so for several days, I'm wandering around, how am I going to get a hold of her? Because she, things are different now. It's hard to get a hold of some people. So I searched on Facebook. I found an old Facebook reference to her, I think, but wouldn't work. And I'm looking everywhere trying to find some way to get a hold of Cecilia. So finally it dawned on me to check my tablet. Well, sure enough, my tablet had her phone number. So I called her phone number a few days ago, left her a message that I got a big check for you. You need to get a hold of me because I don't have your address. So anyway, she called me last night. So I got to get her a check in the mail. It's just not easy being me. Bill Webb, see you in June. Gonna come stay a few days on my way back from Minnesota. Okay, cool. Well, but you remind me that in June, let me look at I better look at the calendar, or I'll get this screwed up for sure. June 6th, 7th, 8th, and 9th, or 6th, 7th, and 8th, for sure, we're going to be down in Mountain View, Arkansas. So if anybody wants to join us down there, call down there and get a bed and breakfast or a motel room or something and stay the weekend and jam with us, because a bunch of us are going to be down there. So that's June 6th, 7th, and 8th down in Mountain View, Arkansas. And if you decide you're going to go down there, well, then send me an email and I will send you my text number, as we get closer to that. I don't know what that is. I got things popping up on my screen that I don't want to see. DE, I had a friend that was so used to texting on her phone as a passenger that when she started driving, she could find her way out of a paper bag. She didn't know where she was because she didn't. Now she has to look out in the real world. Bill's going to be there 25th through the 29th down here. Yeah, I remember Sue saying something about that. The timing. I knew that it wasn't conflicting with Mountain View, so that's good. But anyway, we will be in Mountain View, so come down there if you want to and join in on the fun. Guys, I'm going to let that be it for today. We will be back tomorrow with something else. Probably another rant. You just never know, especially after I got to spend all day doing my taxes. We'll see you tomorrow.